I got a very funny story, and the funniest thing about this story is it's like Inception.
Is how much you want to squeak your chair and hit the table with metal objects before you tell it.
I hope he does the microphone thing again. There we go.
Okay. I got a funny story.
Yeah.
But the problem with this story is that I will tell the punchline too early if I give context to it. So
Okay.
we are going to somehow, and I've told this story before, it almost never works. We're going to like Inception the story, where I'm going to basically tell you two stories at the same time. Because one story involves me telling the first story to someone else. You will understand by the time we're done. It will get confusing.
You love going into a funny story with, it's going to be confusing.
You are not going to understand this joke at all. That's how I love to start my funny stories. So this is way back. This is like 2015. This is story 1, story A.
Oh,
if
the
you'd
before
like.
times.
Yeah. I'm playing Lord of the Rings Trivial Pursuit.
Wow.
Banger of a
Have
game.
you heard a more virgin sentence? A Mega Chad plays the Harry Potter Trivial
Okay,
Pursuit.
first of all, that's where you're just wrong, because there's lots of, like, based on the popularity of Lord of the Rings,
I mean, Lord
you
of the Rings
having
is
that
very
Trivial
popular.
Pursuit knowledge, you're like, some people's like, Aragorn broke his toe in that scene. I'm like, hey, get fucking on my level, because I can get all the behind-the-scenes questions right in the Trivial Pursuit.
But everybody knows that Aragorn fucks, so you're right. It can't be that virgin.
Of course. I mean, Harry fucks as well. At the end of the movie, you're like, oh, you got kids. Good job.
Could have adopted.
No.
All right.
Anyways,
Apparently,
so-
you can't adopt in Wizard England.
Wingland, if you will. All right, so here's story A. I'm playing a game of Lord of the Rings Trivial Pursuit. It's not really relevant. It could be Monopoly. It could be Blackjack. It could be like cool sex Trivial Pursuit that the Chads play. But I don't know what questions you would get, but I would be very uncomfortable playing that game with my
The
parents.
question would be, which one of you is the hardest right now?
And you'd be like, oh, but what? That'd be so hard because
Yeah.
it'd always be me.
Well, then it'd be easy.
Oh, I guess that's true. No, it's still okay.
It's still hard.
All right, so this is story A, and now let's start up story B. I'm telling someone this first story. That's all you have to know. We're actively
He just told us that story.
I
We're in
know,
this
that's
story.
what I'm saying. Yeah.
We're in this story.
This is story C. So we're currently at story B.
Okay.
And the only context you need to know about this is that I'm actively, like, we're walking to a restaurant with this person. I'm going through this story. This story is honestly relatively short, and it has very little meaning in the long run. But while we're playing this game, I'm playing with my friend Julian. You've met Julian.
I know Julian.
And it gets his turn, and now in story B, I'm walking close to the restaurant. We're opening the door, and I'm telling you this part, and I'm...
So you're opening the door to the restaurant while explaining this to Julian.
While explaining the story that I'm telling, in which Julian is in. You're getting confused.
Well, no,
Wait,
I think we just said the same
all right.
thing.
So you're playing Lord of the Rings Trivial Pursuit
or
with
Chad Sex, Julian.
with Julian.
Oh,
yeah.
and while playing Trivial Pursuit,
I'm
you're
with
telling
another person talking about this.
when you went to the restaurant.
You're in story B. We're talking story A.
No,
what the
all right,
fuck's happening here?
All right.
Well, I think I was right the first
hang
time,
on,
but you
Tyler.
said I was wrong.
All right, so he's walking to the restaurant.
Yes.
And he's telling the story about when he was playing Lord of the Rings with Julian.
Yeah, that's why I said the first time,
I
and you were like, "That's
misunderstood.
wrong."
Yeah. Well, okay.
But he's not walking to the restaurant with Julian. He's walking with another person.
Oh, okay, that part. I was
Yeah,
probably
see,
wrong.
that was what I
you're
was
you're
trying
with
to...
someone else, but you were playing Trivial Pursuit
Yeah.
with Julian,
And
and you're explaining that game with Julian to the other person while entering a
I'm
restaurant.
gonna be honest, I've told this story before. It's never gotten this confusing. I set this up as a joke of being like, it's gonna be very confusing. I did not expect so many questions. But in story A, it becomes Julian's turn. The only reason I'm giving you like a person's name, as I've not given anyone else, is because it's very important. Because while I'm literally handing him the dice, and I think to myself, I'm gonna come up with a fun thing to say right here. And now, in the restaurant as I'm stepping through, I say, because I'm jokingly talking about it, I was like, it was very weird that I said this. I hand him the dice, and I'm like, hey, here you go, Jew. And I immediately realized, oh, that was probably not the best nickname. But also, I just stepped through the restaurant being like, and then I was like, here you go, Jew. As I stepped through the door, and everyone's just like, what the fuck is that guy saying?
and then you stand up on a table and say, "You were all in story C."
like to imagine that as he's walking inside the restaurant, like the fucking hostess is actually like a fucking
Like with a
with
yarmulke on.
yarmulke.
Well, I would have liked it if you were with your friend who had a yarmulke on because they were Jewish, and you were just politely opening the door for them while calling them an anti-Semitic slur.
Oh,
Here you go, Jew.
the best part about this is for the next time I tell this, I'm going to tell story C where I'm like, and so many people were confused. They had no clue what was going on. They were asking questions like crazy.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Crack Open a Cryptid. I'm getting good at those.
Ooh.
Hang on.
Clunk.
Another good one.
That was good. Have you guys thought about a sound library where you only have those? What are you guys drinking?
This is a Mike's Harder Lemonade. I believe he is the strawberry version.
Why is it harder and not just hard?
It has more alcohol content. Instead of being 5%, these are 8%.
Do a 12%? Call it the hardest.
I would only buy that one, to be honest with you.
Because it feels like they're running at it. They have to be like harder, and then they have to like leave themselves room where they're like more hard. You know, like they can't be hardest because hardest they're like unless it's a fucking 100% alcohol.
Mike's as hard as Jeremy and Story A lemonade.
And people would be like, "Oh, that's so easy to understand." immediately get that, and literally no questions.
Speaking of which, that's Jeremy Savage Tate. I'm Tyler Shively. I'm here with Adrian Castro. And what are we talking about today?
I love the idea that I am here, but you're with him, as if like,
Well, you're with me and I'm with him, and he's with you.
The whole triangle of showing up together.
Oh, you see, what Adrian is now showing me is the outline to this episode titled "We Talkin' Enfield, Bitch."
We are talking Enfield. This is my favorite ghost story of all time.
The Enfield Poltergeist, I believe, is it's known.
Yeah, Enfield Poltergeist. Do you know anything about it?
I've seen the movie The Conjuring 2.
All right, so
Interesting you mentioned that.
yeah, very, very interesting. So like I've dedicated my life to becoming hot again. You know, like I used to be in high school.
You mean hotter.
Hotter, thank you. So like I got a gym membership. I'm gonna be completely honest. 99% of the reason why I got this gym membership is because the gym I'm going to has a theater in the gym.
I'm so confused. Did that segue off of me saying Conjuring 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because guess what movie he saw in the gym?
Oh.
Last night
Oh, okay.
was The Conjuring 2.
I was so confused because I was just like, oh, I've seen this movie. Like, what a fucking coincidence. I'm going to the gym. How come you're going to the gym and you didn't invite me? And we're not also going rock climbing?
Do you want to go? You can.
Are we all going to be workout buddies now?
Oh, my God.
We can be if you guys want to.
Am I going to have to buy really tight gym shorts?
Well, I have to
hope
buy
so.
a membership. Can I show up there with the...
I think
I
the
have
one you go to has a +1, doesn't it?
The one I go to has a +1.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Only
I don't-
caveat, I do go at like 10 o'clock at night.
That is literally
that's like the
opposite of a problem.
Yeah, that's the best thing you could have said to him.
Yeah. What the fuck? Who do you think
this dude
I am?
woke up at 4 p.m. today, I bet.
Okay, I woke up at 3:30. Don't just put words in my mouth. Or times it at my wake up.
No, yeah, but the gym that I go to has a theater, and they were in fact showing The Conjuring 2, which I haven't seen since it came out. It's really fucking good. Also, 99% of that movie's bullshit.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Well, because one, I don't think the Warrens were that.
They weren't.
Oh, they basically showed up, went, place is haunted, and left, if I remember correctly.
Okay,
So we'll get to
you
that.
didn't have to describe literally every single case the Warrens worked on. Like,
Well, there was some where they showed up and they were there for a while, but from my understanding, Enfield is like, they didn't even go in the house, did they?
Yeah, so we'll actually get to that. Like, actually, this time.
Real quick.
I'm really excited because this is one of the first times that we've talked about a cryptid. I'm like,
I know this one.
I kind of know what's going on here.
I do want to say, because as is tradition, I need to interrupt Adrian 1,000 times before the episode even starts.
We're not doing an episode that Adrian's doing without literally not allowing him to speak.
Well, I just noticed in very small print on the Mike's Hard can is a tag that says, Mike's is hard, so is prison. Don't drink until you're 21. Says it right there.
Huh.
Other side, like literally exact opposite side. Yeah.
Oh, that's very...
Now we know.
Yeah, that's very well hidden.
I saw it just because the light perfectly hit it while you were talking. I was like, it's an odd statement to give.
I'm pretty sure that's just like you can't sue us. It says it on the can.
Yeah, I bet.
Huh. So yeah, we're talking Enfield. Because
I have not seen The Conjuring 2.
honestly, go watch it.
I've never seen any of the Conjuring movies for that reason.
Go watch 1 and 2, and then stop.
I
Don't watch
literally
anything
just
else.
said I haven't seen 2, and you were like, "Don't watch it," and I said I haven't seen it, and you're like, "Watch 1 and 2."
No, I said go watch it.
Ooh, we just synced
I
right. Like
know,
Wonder
what?
Twins just happened.
No,
Adrian turns into a bucket of water, and Jeremy turns into a skinwalker.
Jeremy, we were supposed to combine rings. What the fuck are you doing over there?
Go through.
So what is the Enfield Poltergeist? So, story time.
Story time. When have we ever told stories on this show?
Like twice already?
Oh, at least.
Yeah. Hold on, let me get into story hearing mode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I got
People don't know this because it's not a visual medium. Anytime it's story time, Jeremy moves his mic pedestal, turns his chair to be like perpendicular to the table, and lounges back, baby.
But I also angle based on who's saying.
It's true.
That's
Yeah,
true.
he does
Yeah,
turn in
yeah,
the correct
yeah.
direction.
I sometimes do feel a little bad because sometimes I feel when Tyler's doing an episode, I'm like never facing Adrian. And then
I do this thing during episodes where I'll just subconsciously choose one of you to speak to, and then I'll speak to you the whole time, and I'll be like, I've been speaking to Adrian for a while. Let me turn to Jeremy. Let me turn to Adrian. I'm gonna keep speaking to you.
all right, Adrian,
Yeah,
blow
you-
me away with some Enfield facts.
All right.
I've also been to Enfield. Fun fact.
Have you?
Of course you have. You've been everywhere we ever talk about on the show.
I'm so fucking jealous. I really want to visit that house.
Fun fact, because as of time recording, we just uploaded part 1 of the Amityville episode, and our friend Lindsay, who's coming to visit, by the way,
In January?
around, we're gonna have a Friendsgiving, which by the way you're both invited to. You don't need to answer me
Fuck
now. I'll probably
yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. I just wanted to throw that out there.
We should have her on the podcast.
I would love to. I would love to throw her on for like a Jersey Devil episode because she's from Jersey, but she
Joycey.
she knows someone who lives basically like in the neighborhood of the Amityville Horror House, and she was telling us about it, and she was saying like, yeah, no, there's like a police car stationed outside the house literally at all times because the current people don't want to fucking deal with it.
Yeah.
Because people will just come and like try to break in the house, just be like, oh, there are ghosts here, and the people are just like, I just want to live in the house. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care about the Amityville horror. I just want to live.
I wonder if they could sell tickets to their house.
That's
I would.
exactly what I would do.
I would do that.
100%.
And then with the ticket money, buy an actual house you live in.
Because I can't imagine that's not like I bet there's a decent sized market. Because you're in a fucking house, you're just gonna be like, yeah, you just come in.
Well, like ghost tours are a thing where like you go into a haunted house and someone's like, they died in this room.
And you're like, oh my god, I'm in that room right now.
Anyways,
All right,
Enfield Poltergeist.
yeah, tell me about this house.
Story time.
Before someone interrupts you, do it.
Great.
Now.
It all started in a quaint little home in Enfield, London. By the way, so much easier to read this.
Oh yeah, because they're written in the modern era.
'Tis but a story that I will tell you tonight.
And as the wind headed bequeath onto the town of Enfield, that of London, not of Belgium.
Ooh, that's clearly like, yeah,
That's really good. By the way, we're recording these episodes back to back. The last one was the Flying Dutchman, where Tyler had us like
Read very difficult passages.
read very old English.
Be happy.
literally still embarrassed about it because I without meaning to was like, I've never read anything before. Saved myself so much headache later on. I'm like, I don't need to explain it. They just know I'm dumb ahead of time.
When you said that, I was like, sure, I was really planning to get him to read this in a minute.
Anyways, it all started in a quaint little home in Enfield, London in 1977 when Peggy Hodgson, yeah, a single mother of 4 children, heard loud noises coming from her daughter's bedroom. When she went to tell her daughter Margaret, 12, and Janet, 11, to settle down and go to sleep, instead of roughhousing, she found them huddled in a corner with terrified expressions on their faces. This is a quote from one of the children. We told our mom the chest the chest of drawers was moving towards the bedroom. She said, "Oh, don't be silly." But Peggy then witnessed the drawers moving herself in the direction of the door by a seemingly invisible force, almost as if some supernatural presence was trying to trap the girls in the room. And when she went to try and push it back against the dresser, it wouldn't budge. Terrified, the Hodgson family ran across the street to ask for help from the neighbors, Vic and Peggy Nottingham.
Also named Peggy?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's London in the 70s. I'm sure there's a ton of Peggys.
You can't throw a rock without hitting a Peggy out there.
Yeah. When Vic went into the house to investigate, he too said he heard strange noises coming from around the home. The Hodgsons called the police. A police constable said that she saw a chair wobble and slide and could not determine the cause of the movement. Even though one officer claimed to have seen, like another officer claimed to have seen the chair move clearly across the room, they deduced it was not a police matter.
I mean, in their defense, that doesn't really seem like the police's job. I don't remember the police officer signing a contract and be like, to serve, protect, and ghost bust.
I just love the idea that they see like the gates of hell opening up and they're like, this is not our jurisdiction.
These strange happenings would continue for 18 months.
Fuck.
Which I would have moved out after the first day.
Weren't they very poor?
Yeah,
They were very
yeah,
poor,
I believe
yeah.
they were extremely, like, this was essentially, like, they didn't own the home, from my understanding.
No,
This
they
was
didn't.
like, I can't think of the fucking term. Low income housing.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, yeah. Also that, probably.
Yeah, but like, go live with your mom or something.
Was her mom alive?
I don't fucking know.
All right, well,
I'm sure they had someone.
just go live across the street. And then when the husband is like, get in here, Peggy, it's really a toss-up who comes in.
Yeah. When the strange incidents continued, Peggy decided to call a popular UK publication, The Daily Mirror, to come and investigate the supposed supernatural occurrences. But when the reporter arrived, the house sat silent for hours.
He's just camera shy.
Yeah. It wasn't until the reporter was about to leave that something happened.
Of course.
It's very funny to me. This is a quote from one of the kids, Janet. The photographer came back and a Lego brick hit him above the eye.
Oh, so the ghost was like, yeah, fuck off.
Yeah.
Man, how long has Lego been around?
It's been around for forever.
Since the 50s.
The
Yeah.
50s, really? Wow, Lego's been around longer than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Lego is like 70 years old.
It is important to point out that they didn't always sell the bricks. In fact,
what did they do first?
So I believe so I think Lego was founded before World War II, and remember it's a Danish company.
That sounds right.
It's I want to say it's Danish. And so they used to sell, it used to be like a wooden toy shop where you would buy, like, one of their biggest products was like the duck that's on wheels and you pull it on a string.
Man.
That's Lego?
Toys back
Yeah, so
in the
that
day.
used to be, that was like one of the big products. Like, oh, dude, you have a fucking duck and we could pull it on a string. This is insane. But World War II happened and the Nazis occupied them.
They're Danish.
That's what I said.
Yes.
Okay.
I couldn't remember what you said there, so I just told you it was
For some reason, I thought you were implying that I didn't say it. I was like, who did I say?
they were founded in Billund, Denmark in 1932.
Yeah. Okay.
Shit.
So, all right, that pretty much lines up. Basically, the Nazis occupied them, and there was suddenly a thing of like, well, most of the steel is going to the war effort, so a lot of toy companies made little metal figurines, couldn't make stuff anymore. But Lego was making stuff out of wood, but also at the same time, no one wanted to buy like German toys because they're like, we're gonna fucking occupied by these people. Like we don't want to add more to their economy. So like Lego just happened to be literally in the right spot where everyone's like, we'll just buy these instead because we know we're not, and that really boosted their company. But then they eventually moved on to the brick when the main guy was like shown like a plastic extruder, like the machine, and they were like, yeah, you can make like all these shapes, and they were like, holy shit, we could make like little things, like little blocks. And so that was basically all they sold. Was they were just like, it was like the 2x4 that used to be most sets. But yeah, been there a while.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I just want Jeremy to come on and do an episode where he just tells us like little history facts. Doesn't have to be a cryptid. Just be like,
Hey, welcome to Cracking Open a Cryptid, and now we have the history of Lego.
that would be a really good April Fool's episode. We don't participate at all. It's just you talking for an hour about anything.
Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, they're not even here right now. Just me.
And you'd be like, isn't that right, Adrian?
Right.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, no, you don't even say anything. It just goes like, thank you.
All right. So photographer came, Lego brick straight to the head. He still had the mark a few days later.
Yeah.
So that's how hard.
That guy got really pelted by that.
Yeah, no, he got like fucking.
Basically got shot with a Lego out of a paintball gun.
Yeah. And then later, one Maurice Gross came onto the case. So the Daily Mirror called the Daily Mirror called the Society for Physical Research (SPR), who sent Gross to investigate the case.
Oh, as long as it's not SPC, that would lead to a very different outcome.
We should do an episode on it. Well,
But those
not really.
100% aren't
SCP.
real.
SCP.
No,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're not real, but that would be a fun one. Just like, let's just read some SCPs, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So during his stay at the house, Gross said that he witnessed more than 2,000 different incidents of supernatural activity. So it's like furniture turning over, cups filled with water, just flying off tables.
I thought that was going to be the end of it. Like, oh, there's so many ghost activities here. These cups have water in them. I'd be like, all right. Nobody else filled them up? I was like,
No.
oh, we didn't check.
How would you?
Yeah.
Do you not hand your cup to your ghost butler to fill it with water for you?
I just handed it to my regular butler.
I have some bad news about your butler. I don't think he'll.
No.
Yeah, so cups filled with water, fires igniting, voices, levitation. Like I'm sure you guys have
how's a
seen
voice levitating?
No,
No.
there's a comma
Oh.
there.
Yeah.
They hear voices, and also David Blaine is there.
Like I'm sure y'all have seen the picture of the girl levitating in her bedroom.
Yeah.
Um,
I just imagine someone speaking and I'm hearing their voice like a few feet higher than them.
It's just like, hello, Jeremy. I am up here now, Jeremy.
Holy shit!
the most frightening encounter was when a curtain wrapped itself around Janet's neck, right next to her bed.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, that's spooky.
yeah.
I don't know if you guys can even relate to this because I don't know how like widespread these were. But the first thing, very widespread. Remember like in elementary school when you'd have book fairs and everybody went there with like $10 the parents gave them and nobody walked out with a book. You just bought like weird toys and shit.
Yeah.
I'd buy the Guinness World Record book every year.
Fucking remember earlier when I said that's the most virgin sentence I've ever heard? It's been beaten.
Yeah. Except for 1 year that I bought a PDA.
Hell yeah.
He didn't buy the Guinness Book of World Records. He bought the Guinness Book of Sexual Records. That's the Chad book.
But there were these little toys that essentially they were like I don't know what to call it, but it was almost like a gelatin like stretchy material. But you could put a little ring of it around your finger, and then it was like a ball.
Yeah.
That was like full of like I just assumed water.
Yeah.
And
It was like a
squish it.
yo-yo, but it was like made of like a gelatin. It was like a little spike ball.
Yes.
And,
yes. Okay, you know exactly what
yeah.
I'm talking about. I really enjoyed as a kid for whatever reason is we lived at the end of a cul-de-sac back when I was that young, and I would just stand in the middle of like the street, essentially at the top of the cul-de-sac, and I would just spin in a circle with that on my finger and just watch it like continuously get further and further from me, just going longer and longer. But I remember one time I stopped really rapidly and I moved my hand in such a way that the ball went and just wrapped itself around my throat like 4 times, and just started choking me, and I freaked out. Like it got really tight, and I was so fucking scared. Luckily, my dad was like out mowing the lawn at the time, and he ran over and just kind of like took it off my neck. But I just remember I was really young, and that was like the first time I ever felt like being choked. And I was like, that is the worst.
Erotic.
Yeah. So dope.
Like, man, I'm terrified, but I'm just hard as steel right now. But yeah, so anytime I hear stuff about that, of like the drape getting wrapped around her neck, I'm just like, Ooh, that's freaky, dude.
Yeah.
It scares the hell out of me.
I think it was also like, maybe I'm totally making up a fact, but you know how realistically in your house, maybe it's changed now, but it was definitely a thing in the 90s where when you had like drapes or something like that, it would connect into like a little pulley that was attached to the wall at the bottom. Did you ever have this?
Mhm.
I don't think we did, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Those were to fight the fact that it was actually common for kids to like hit those strings, and it would basically, they would like wrap around their neck and they would literally be like dangling off the wall. Like it was common for kids to die that way. So
Shit.
basically they had a system where it was like, no, it doesn't, you can't
You
pull
can't
them
do
in
that
it. Like they
anymore.
are stuck to the bottom of the
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Hot as hell. It scares the shit out of me.
yeah, if you live through it, hot. If you don't, not ideal.
It was during his time at the house that, what's his name? Was it Gross? Yeah, Gross. It was during Gross's
Ew.
time at the house, that the supposed poltergeist started speaking through Janet.
Yes, I've heard this. There's a recording of this, right?
There is, yeah. So the young girl would often go into a trance-like state where she would speak in a deep, scratchy voice, claiming to be the ghost of a man named Bill Wilkins, who had died in the house years before. Like it was later proven that a man named Bill Wilkins had died in that house. So he would die of a hemorrhage while sitting in the living room. The ghost would reportedly talk through Janet for hours at a time. I think, I have a recording.
Okay.
Or are you gonna play it?
I was gonna look it up here, but if you have one, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll essentially what we'll do is we'll cut this part and I'll just put the recording in.
So keep this in mind. The person speaking in this is an 11-year-old girl.
And like that's confirmed by the witnesses who were here.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me whether you remember what happened to you when you died. Just before you died and just after you died.
Days before I died, I went blind. Then I had an hemorrhage and I fell asleep and I died in a chair in the corner downstairs.
Why is that so noisy?
I assume because recording stuff at the time was like garbage.
Yeah, no, but it sounds like they've boosted her audio, like as if she was quiet and then they boost up because like the noise is really loud as well on that.
Well, all right. So like this is
Let
what.
me hear you say my name. Come on, let me hear you say my
So
name.
that's a gross trying to get the ghost to talk.
That's not my name.
That's not my name.
You fucking what, mate?
Remind me who Gross was? He was the investigator?
Yeah, so he
okay.
was the one who pretty much like stayed with the family and like documented all the goings on. Essentially trying to help the family. So yeah, that was an 11-year-old girl talking as Bill. Bill Wilkins. Which I mean,
Either the kid's really good at impressions or
yeah.
or it's fake.
Yeah.
But there were multiple witnesses and they've caught her on video talking like this. I couldn't find the actual like recording, but like they do, it does exist somewhere out there. So throughout the 18-month period, a number of additional paranormal researchers visited the house, including famed demonologist Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Fuck the Warrens.
Yeah. So the film The Conjuring 2, well, like all the Conjuring movies are based on the Warren files.
Yeah.
Or like all of the supposed like stuff that they helped
You
out
mean
with.
the Conjuring movies are meant to make the Warrens' pocketbook a bit thicker?
What was the name of Mr. Gross? What was his first name?
His first name
Was it David Gross?
It was Maurice Gross.
Oh man, I was way off.
Yeah, M-A-U.
It was actually Meta. It was Meta Gross.
M-A-U-R-I-C-E. Maurice Gross.
He's a big amalgamation of metal with 4 large arms, and he can do bullet punch.
Also, he was not worth the the time it took to actually get him.
Wrong.
Why do you say that?
Metagross
I
fucking
love
suck.
Beldam, Metang, and Metagross. You can fuck off.
I love their design. It's just
No,
they were
they're
never
fantastic.
they were never that useful.
Beldam only knows takedown. That's the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Sorry, what's up?
I was just looking that guy up to see who he was.
Yeah.
He was a paranormal researcher.
Yeah. So if you've seen The Conjuring 2,
Who actually showed up and tried to figure out what was going on instead of just trying to get money.
yeah.
Also, at the same time,
I mean,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did air quotes, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah.
yeah. So
I'm just saying, I didn't see anyone like get a fucking camera next time.
so if you've seen The Conjuring 2, Gross is the guy who's like kind of balding.
And he has a really sexy mustache.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right.
So obviously The Conjuring 2 takes liberties with the time and extent to which the Warrens were involved with the case. They publicly stated that they were convinced that the supernatural were responsible for the strange happenings inside the house.
Mm-hmm.
Guy,
I bet they were.
yeah. So a gentleman named Guy Leon Playfair, one of the original paranormal investigators of the Enfield case, came forward prior to The Conjuring 2's release and said that the Warrens had showed up uninvited, only stayed for a day, and also that Ed Warren came up to him and told him, you can make a lot of money off of this case.
Yeah, I fucking bet.
Oh yeah.
He
He was
he's
probably
a
like,
shitbag,
we
dude.
could trap this ghost into a bottle, sell that bottle.
Well, no, see, they wouldn't sell it. What they would do is they would put that empty bottle in their shitty museum and charge people to come see it, instead making a revenue stream. Because that's what they do with every other artifact they get.
Yeah. No, I imagine like you go to your house and you're like, oh, something weird, and they're like, this crochet pillow is really what's doing it, and then they just steal your
That's
pillow.
basically what they
Yeah,
do.
and then they put
Like,
it in your
the-
museum. You're like, you want to see the crochet pillow?
Death?
The Annabelle doll and most of like the stuff relating around Annabelle
It's a
is
Raggedy Ann doll.
Yeah. The fact that they're like, oh, the spirit's in the Raggedy Ann doll, that's pretty much the Warrens. And then they took the doll and now they charge people to see it. They also have another one I don't remember the name of, but they're like, don't take pictures of it. He gets mad. And I just think that's kind of funny. Like the doll will get mad at you if you take pictures of it.
that's not them though. That's what's the name of that doll?
I'm pretty sure the Warrens have that doll.
They don't. No.
Oh.
No, that doll's in a museum.
When will
Yeah,
your
the Warren
credibility
Museum.
No, not
be?
like
It's amazing. Every time you speak, I think less of your credibility as a paranormal investigator.
it's
I don't think you could handle this on the same level as the Warrens.
yeah. So it's Robert the doll.
How come that's just like an extra from It's a Small World?
Yeah, is that not in the
kind
Warren
of-
Museum?
It's not in the Warren Museum. No.
Where is it?
I love the fact that you doubled down on that and then you were wrong and then you tripled down on it just like in case.
It's one of those things where I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is in the Warren Museum. And I could be completely wrong. But it's not that I dropped it. It's just that I was like, all right, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's there.
It's in the Key West Museum in Florida.
Is that in the Florida Keys?
Who owns the Key
Yes.
West Museum?
think.
Now I'm doubling down on it. Who owns the museum?
Is this the second summer home museum for the Warrens? You know that
They ran out of room in the first one. They're like, let's make one in Florida.
it's not a big house, I don't think, where they have their actual museum.
No, it's
It's
not.
it's,
Um,
it's literally just like any other house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just with creepy shit in it.
in their garage. Yeah.
Yeah. The I don't know if you know this, but when they're doing Conjuring 2, you aren't going to know this because you haven't seen it.
It's true. I've never seen it.
But like the character of the nun was apparently a very late addition. It was entirely added like in post and through pickups, because originally they were going to show Valak like in a demon form, and so they like actually they shot, and there were some behind the scene photos of basically someone like in a really demony looking makeup for it with like giant wings. At the very end, they were like, this becomes a little too like paranormal.
That's not very realistic.
Yeah, like basically they were like, this is very high fantasy for our kind of
For our based on a true story
yeah
movie.
So they just went back and they're like, no, it just looks like someone who's a nun. But then like you do kind of see like the true form when they defeat it, like it becomes like a shadow and you see like the silhouette of the demon. But I always thought that was interesting because that spawned movies and stuff, and that was just an afterthought for
I mean, almost everything from the following Conjuring movies felt like an afterthought. So,
Damn.
Well, did you ever see Annabelle Comes Home?
that one's actually good.
I enjoyed it, but I will say it was like watching one of like the MCU Crossroad movies where I'm like, this is a movie where they're setting up like 6 different villains because the plot of the movie is just like there's a babysitter at the Warrens' house, and like while they're there, they like accidentally open the case to Annabelle, and she like unleashes other ghosts from the. So that
just sounds like Night at the Museum.
I mean, you're not wrong, but so basically they're just fighting like different ghosts, and throughout they're like, which ghosts are these? And they're like looking at the files, like, okay, there's like a werewolf, there's like a dude who like is like the ferryman, there's like a samurai armor.
So just like the last third of Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, basically, but
Sick.
it very clearly they were like, we want to make more movies, but this is the movie where it's like, which did audiences like really enjoy?
So it's like that thing that Samsung does every year where they're like, here's 10 products, and in 3 months it'll be one product.
Like very clearly, I was like, there's gonna be a fucking prequel movie that's one of these characters, so that they can be like, oh, isn't that scary? It's the ferryman. By the way, I'm totally down for the ferryman. Like that was the one. That was the one I attached to the most. Didn't give a shit about samurai armor, dude. If they want to do spooky TV, I'm also down for that. That spooky TV scared the shit out of me.
Do I need to watch this movie?
Dude, there's a spooky TV.
Hell yeah. Is it the one from
It's
Yes.
only it's
Okay.
it's the one before that. It's just
No, why can't it's like the most simply named horror movie ever?
TV.
No,
Oh, The Ring.
Not The Ring, the other one where there's the I See Dead People.
The Sixth Sense.
Are you thinking
But that's
of
not it.
the Poltergeist?
I'm thinking of Poltergeist, the TV in Poltergeist,
Yeah.
right? It's a spooky TV.
I mean, it's just a regular TV. It doesn't.
Yeah, but it's in a spooky movie.
I
And
guess-
it goes
Dude, anytime I put my phone like a camera on a TV, apparently based on that logic, spooky TV.
that's the spookiest shit I've ever seen. A TV's going
By the way, I was thinking about the second Annabelle movie. It's Annabelle
Creation.
Creation. That's the really good
Why are
one.
there so many Annabelle movies? It's not that
Annabelle Goes
interesting.
Home is good, not great.
I will be honest with you. I hated Annabelle Creation.
Really?
Yeah.
Basically, anytime I watch a movie, either with Jeremy or like generally the same time as Jeremy, he comes to me and he's like, how'd you feel about it? I'll be like, I really enjoyed it. And be like, that's funny. I thought it was shit. Or I'll be like, I mean, I didn't really like it. I'll be like, interesting. I thought it was amazing. And I was like, all right, cool. Nice.
So
Tell me more about Enfield, please.
Quote from Ed Warren.
EW.
That's what I call him.
Yeah.
That's what his friends call him.
Mm-hmm.
Inhuman spirit phenomena were in progress. Now, you couldn't record
So, I'm sorry. I know you just said don't interrupt. He literally said, there's a fucking ghost. But in the dumbest way possible, so he could sound smart.
Now, you couldn't record the dangerous, threatening atmosphere inside that little house.
course you could.
But you could film the levitations, teleportations, and dematerializations of people and objects that were happening there. Not to mention the many and hundreds of hours of tape recordings made of these spirits' voices speaking out loud in rooms. As the case became widely viewed as a hoax, some saw it as proof that the Warrens themselves were frauds.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Ed was like, atmosphere of the room, real spooky. Can't get that on camera though. Okay, sure, whatever, makes sense. He goes, but here's about 8 things that are able to be recorded. Did they record any of it?
They recorded the little girl talking in a voice, sure.
Okay, but they didn't record the dematerialization, the teleportation, the levitation.
Yeah.
They didn't
The
record any
levitations,
levitations?
supposedly they did record the levitations, but
Oh, because that's the photo.
the photo. But what people don't actually look up is, so the way that
The photo was
cameras work,
staged, I thought, right?
it wasn't staged. So they would have the camera go off every like so often. But like they would I know what the term is. I use it every single day, but like right now I'm like
frame rate.
No, it's not the frame rate.
Shutter speed.
It's when the camera takes a bunch of photos like one after
Time
another.
lapse.
Not a time lapse. It's
Oh,
like
Burst photography.
burst. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So like they would have a burst go off every
Also,
couple of
just want
minutes.
to put out there because it doesn't happen to me often. Alcohol just hit me.
Yeah.
It hit me a little bit. Yeah.
I'm
I'm
excited.
a little like woo.
I'm
This
excited.
bitch is jumping.
Exactly. Yeah, so people focus on that one photo, but
Okay, that.
Oh yes, that one photo.
That's the
I've seen that.
photo.
One. I've always thought that
But-
one was annoying because it's like she's clearly jumping.
Yeah, she's literally in the apex of the jump.
yeah, so that's the apex of the jump. No one ever talks about the photos leading up to that photo where you could see
It's like
her
crouching down to jump.
pushing off the bed and getting into that pose.
Oh, there's even like another one, like an even higher pose.
Yes.
Let me see.
Yeah, no, it's a burst of photos, but people only talk about that one.
It's really weird. There's just this other image where everyone's just hanging around, just like, hey, what's going on?
do like that one.
Yeah. So of course, many cast their doubts on the events, claiming that the children were behind elaborate hoaxes and were faking their demonic symptoms. 2 SPR experts adamantly questioned Janet's gruff voice and later caught the children bending spoons themselves.
Yeah.
That's the
See?
third.
You just showed me another picture. I've taken photos like that.
It's
Yeah,
like
we've all seen that photo on Instagram, just like a girl with her hands
Yeah.
up. She's clearly jumping.
it's like when people do like the pottering where they jump with the broomstick underneath, and you're like, oh my god, they're flying.
Yeah.
Another tangent here. In high school, Jeremy and I were both in the same. It was essentially just an AV program. Speaking of virgin sentences, but we.
Man,
had
you're really hitting hard on those. You're just like, what a bunch of losers we all were.
were.
Yeah.
When we have a podcast about cryptids that 10 people watch.
Excuse me.
Our first video actually is almost to 100 views right now,
Well,
and
that's pretty
that's like kind of neat to me.
Oh.
Anyway, but we in that class we would record all of the sports that our high school was doing.
Mhm.
I remember I was absent one day and I came in the next day and everybody had already picked all the sports for that week. That
Is
were
this a
being done.
Brady story somehow?
No, but dear God, the Brady stories. There was a dude we hated called Brady. He was a weirdo. But we
That we're still bullying, like,
like
10 years later, we're just like,
as
ah.
like adults now. But no, yeah, we so I came in and I was one of like the head people in the class who would like lead a bunch of the shoots and everything, but they were all picked. So I go up to our instructor and I was like, hey, like I know I was absent yesterday when we were like doing the assignments and stuff, but like what's mine? He goes, Quidditch. Now, here's the thing. I was raised very religious. At that point, I had never read or watched any of the Harry Potter stuff. I didn't know what Quidditch was.
To my understanding, you still haven't.
No, I've seen all the movies. I just didn't read the books.
Oh, okay.
But I was like, I'm sorry, the what match? And he goes, Quidditch. I was like, that's not a sport. And he had to Google it and showed me a video from like the movie of what Quidditch was. And I was like, they're doing that here in a high school. And he goes, yeah, no, it's like a thing they do every year. I was so fucking confused until eventually he was like, all right, I'm just going to go with you because you clearly don't know what this is. So him and I went out the next day to shoot the Quidditch match. It's literally a bunch of motherfuckers running around with brooms between their legs, throwing a tennis ball to each other and trying to make goals. And I remember just looking at him and going, do we really have to record this? And he was like, no. and we went home. Not together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Went to your separate homes.
Yeah, I want to be clear.
Or you inverted. And you were just like, well, as
Yeah,
long as we're not in the same house.
I went to his home and he
Yeah.
went to my home. Yeah.
His kids were probably very upset.
No, Kira liked me.
That's true.
Yeah, Kira was cool with me. But it was just the weirdest fucking thing. Like, people do this. And he's like, yeah, all over the country. And I was like,
I mean, people
That
LARP. And
cannot
that's,
be. But
yeah.
LARPing is like, LARPing low-key sounds pretty fun.
I mean,
Here's
it does.
the thing. You have not seen what LARPing is. If
Probably.
you are... Because it is... You know how, like, when you're playing Dungeons & Dragons, you're just throwing virgin sentences left, right... You know, like... You know when you're having sex with a woman while you're playing Dungeons
Dude,
& Dragons.
you're already writing the description of this video for me. It's, in today's episode, Adrian tries to tell us about ghosts while everyone decides that we're the biggest virgins on planet Earth.
That's unfortunate. Which is also...
In the metadata, we're just going to put tag virgin, no sex.
All right.
We're talking about some bitch jumping?
I really hope that makes it.
Bitch was like down here, and she was up there, and then she was back down there. You know what I'm saying?
So, Janet, the girl with the gruff voice, later admitted that she and her siblings fabricated a few events. So, quote from her: "Oh yeah, once or twice we faked it just to see if Mr. Gross and Miss Playfair would catch us. They always did," she said.
I love that they're like, yeah, no, they caught us. They just didn't say shit about it.
Yeah. So at one point, American magician Milbourne Christopher.
What is that name?
It was the
Milbourne?
70s. Yeah. Milbourne Christopher.
That's a name?
It's a name for a magician.
Did you just turn to my mom all of a sudden? Because I've never met someone more in my life than my mom who's just like, that's not a real name. Anytime she hears just like a slight variation of the name, or just a name she's never heard before, she's like, that's not a real name. I'm like, okay, here's the thing. Like, you fucking name anyone anything. Like, it doesn't matter.
I mean, but it doesn't mean a good idea.
All right, so this American magician.
God, can you imagine being named Jeremy Savage?
I really,
Fucking virgin.
I wish I didn't know what that was like.
Imagine having your middle name be Savage.
Oh, that's
That's his last name.
Yeah,
It's
that-
oh, is
hyphenated.
that? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Here's the thing. You're immediately stumbling on the thing I dealt with a lot through school. People are like, what the fuck is your last name? Like, it does start with an S. And they're like, not a T. And I'm like, I understand the confusion. I'm not just shouting my middle name like a mid-century aristocrat.
I am Ferdinand von Ayer.
Yeah.
I think
am
we all
Ferdinand
know
von
my
Ayer.
family name.
But I actually don't know this about you, Jeremy. Is Savage Tate hyphenated?
It is.
Okay, it is. I wasn't sure.
My mom's last name
Is Tate, right?
is Savage, but my dad's last name is Tate.
Oh, it's like that. Okay, I thought that was. It's been hyphenated in your family for.
No. Me and my brother are the first people to
have the hyphen.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Bro, sick hyphen. You're basically Spider-Man.
Dude, I just waiting for the inevitable children where they have 3 names, because I'm like, you're not changing your name either.
Well, when you and Adrian eventually adopt a child, they'll be Savage Tate Castro.
Or Castro Savage Tate.
Okay,
Let's be honest.
I don't think we need to keep them in that. It could be Savage Castro Tate.
I love it.
No. Tate means nipple.
I'm sorry. Speak on that.
What?
Speak on that,
I
please.
said it means nipple.
Yeah. Okay. Could you speak
In
on
what
that?
language?
Nipplese.
Gotcha.
From Nepal.
Yeah.
Oh.
They have a fake flag.
That makes sense.
I think it's Scandinavian.
And is that like the source of your last name?
In a way.
Did your like great times 5 grandmother just have rockin' tits, and they were like, nice.
So
Rockin' Tates.
that that is an interesting question. I don't know why it originated like that, but I think it's a byproduct of like the Scandinavians. They went into England and they're like, cool place. We're gonna bang some chicks here, and
How could you not?
yeah, it's really odd because there are theories that like oftentimes the Vikings were depicted as like invading, and that might be a bit revisionist history just because they showed up and they were just really handsome, that a lot of people were like, these people actually groom themselves and they take baths, like, yeah, we're gonna be fucking them. And the other people were like, oh, suddenly we have to take baths now. We have to comb our hair. Like, because apparently Vikings had very common beauty standards that like we in modern day just kind of have, where we comb our hair, we take showers, stuff like that. So they were just way nicer to deal with. So they were like, no, we're getting invaded by them. They were just raping our women like nonstop. But that might not actually be true.
Yeah, because I totally see how that can happen, because I do know for a fact that there is confirmed like revisionist history of the fact that the term barbarian, which literally, by the way, translates, it was a Roman word, it translates to not Roman.
Mm-hmm.
It literally just means anyone who's not Roman is a barbarian.
Mm-hmm.
But that idea of a barbarian ended up getting put on the Vikings because they were just like the hit and run specialists. They would show up, they would raid, and they'd fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of misconceptions about the Vikings, where the Vikings were insanely ahead of their time, like culturally and socially and hygienically. And I've heard that a lot of just like, No, yeah, like they took baths, they combed their hair, they ate a lot of food after they murdered a bunch of Christians. So like woke.
They were canceling people far before it was cool.
But I do love that idea of them just being like, yeah, these invaders came in and they took all our women, and I'm not mad.
Yeah.
So the Europeans were virgins, is what you're getting at.
They were after the Vikings showed up.
Well, only half of them were. The female half were not anymore, from my
Yeah,
understanding.
the males were just like, this is fucking stupid.
Well, and the Vikings also weren't like women are lesser, right? The Vikings kind of venerated women in a lot of tribes.
Okay, it is a little odd because like there are places in history where it's like, oh, these people weren't that bad. It's like in modern standards and in under certain lights, you could read it that way.
Okay.
Like, yeah, the Vikings supposedly had like a lot more equality. Like it was very like both culturally frowned upon to be like abusive towards women, but also at the same time, I remember reading something, and this is so anecdotal. I have no clue if this is true.
Okay.
But back in the old days, Vikings basically would have their wives be the accountants of the house because they viewed math as witchcraft. So therefore, they had their
fucking same. Honestly.
Yeah, they basically had their witch wives dealing with it. I also
That's really funny.
Supposedly they also might have they thought they were blessing their weapons by putting like animal carcasses as they would forge them because they thought they were enchanting them, but they were actually accidentally making really rudimentary steel when they're putting the bones on top of it because of the carbon inside.
Oh,
so their weapons really were
just like better.
Yeah, they were better, and they might have been able to like cut through other people's swords and stuff like that. And so everyone with like regular iron sword, bronze swords, they were just like, oh, theirs should be so much worse, but we don't know why. They are just like cutting ours to pieces.
That's fucking badass. I love that.
God.
Please tell me about Enfield before we get on another weird history lesson, which, by the way, might not be true.
Yeah. So, American magician Milbourne Christopher briefly investigated.
I forgot that's why we split. I cannot believe that we got there. Oh my fucking god. Like, what a fucking segue. It's like Milbourne Christopher, and it's like, I bet you're not going to know that this is going to get to Vikings.
I was like, well, Milbourne, that's a real name. It's like, did you know the Vikings were enchanting steel?
What?
So, American magician, he briefly investigated.
I love that nobody got on that. Why the fuck is a magician investigating a paranormal place?
Does this fall under the category of magician means wizard and not like
good
stage
question.
act?
That's a good question.
No. So
okay.
the reason the reason he investigated is because, I mean, okay, I'm sorry to break anyone's heart here. Obviously,
Don't be
magic
breaking my
isn't
heart.
real. I wouldn't if I
What?
tried.
Tell that to the Viking swords.
Yeah.
That shit's enchanted.
So like, you know, Chris Angel, David, none of that's
Chris Angel?
real.
You're
know,
telling me
shocking.
he's not a real person?
No,
He never existed?
no. What
He's just an artificial intelligence designed to trick us into entertainment like Hatsune Miku?
yes.
Version sentence.
Why would you even say that? Like,
So he investigated because, like, okay, we have all these things recorded. How much of it is actually bullshit? Because, you know, magicians have like their own
their own bullshit detector.
yeah. So
He's like, that girl did look like she was just jumping.
yeah. So he briefly investigated and failed to observe anything that could be called paranormal, and was dismayed by what he felt was suspicious activity on the part of Janet, the one that had like the gruff voice.
Yeah.
Christopher would later conclude that, quote, the poltergeist was nothing more than the antics of a little girl who wanted to cause trouble and who was very, very clever.
I do love this idea that this is still a haunting that is talked about to this day. And it was all because this girl was like, I'm fucking bored and want attention. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that.
Yeah. Later on, ventriloquist Ray Allen visited the house and
Why are these the people showing up? They have like the
Thank you.
Avengers of like third.
okay.
If I had a birthday party and some of these people showed up, I'd be like, this is fucking lame. If I was investigating a fucking ghost, I'd be like, well, shouldn't you be at my lame birthday party?
Now, what you're not going to believe is to investigate the paranormal activity, P.T. Barnum rolled up next time.
Yeah, so this ventriloquist showed up to the house and
Behind him, a small car, 50 clowns showed up.
And then Zendaya walks in.
Zendaya.
Zendaya? Oh,
Why do
yeah.
you keep mispronouncing words? Who are you,
Have
me?
I actually been saying that name? Like, wrong
It's
the whole time?
Zendaya. Yeah.
Does she have a last name?
Well, I believe that's
I'm
a
sure
stage.
she
I believe it's a
does.
stage name, right?
Probably.
Like Aquafina,
Yeah, or
which is
Cher.
the dumbest fucking stage name.
All right, it's
ever.
the dumbest name, and she can never get away from it. She's like, have you seen what's that name? What's the name
Shang-Chi.
of that movie? No, the one.
Crazy Rich Asians.
No. The
I've
other
not seen
one.
that, but I heard it was really good.
It is. It's really good.
The Chinese didn't like it.
What a surprise!
The Farewell. Watch that movie. Aquafina would make you cry.
I mean, she's a great actor.
Yeah.
You just pick a better fucking stage name that doesn't sound like the second worst bottled water. Yeah, I said it.
What's the first worst?
Dasani.
Wrong. Arrowhead.
Arrowhead is third worst. Stater Brothers store brand is the best. I'm kidding.
You're right though.
I always liked the Sparklet.
Is Sparklet sparkling water or is it just water?
No,
it's
it's
just
just regular
water.
water.
Okay,
It's
I've
just a
actually
brand
never
of,
been clear on that.
Sparklet's pretty good too. So anyways, ventriloquist Ray Allen visited the house and concluded that Janet's male voices were simply vocal tricks.
Yeah.
Stuff that you could learn
I
reading
feel
a
really
ventriloquist.
dumb
Yeah,
interrupting this because that does make sense to bring him on board. It's kind of like if there were, we really shot ourselves in the foot being like, oh, what a fucking idiot getting these people. It's like the next part, it's like, oh yeah, and also she kept shooting water out of a flower on her chest, and it was like, all right, calling 50 clowns. I'm like, okay, I'd see why they would probably want to be there too. They would know that. She just kept throwing pies in people's faces, and I was like, yeah, the clowns would also know about that one too. Okay.
Yeah, so this ventriloquist was like, I mean, yeah, like on that recording, it sounds like a fucking 80-year-old man or whatever he was, but like it's nothing out of the ordinary from what a 11-year-old girl could potentially do.
Really?
Yeah,
That's the most surprising part about this to me.
It also, for some reason, and I'm doing this. This is a new segment of the show called Jeremy's Basic. Jeremy's not even having a segment name because he can't even think of the fucking word. Basely. When you have no base.
Baselessly.
Baselessly.
There you go.
I couldn't land there. You know why? Because I had no fucking base.
He's right. So Jeremy baselessly
just makes a claim. That's the name of this segment.
Oh, so crack open encrypted.
Yeah. We start the segment at the beginning of the show.
And then we end it at the end of the show.
Yeah, we probably say something that makes Jeremy, if you don't know who he is, sound really fucking weird, and makes you
Here
go,
you go, Jew.
yeah, it makes people go, I don't ever want to interact with that person. But it kind of sounds like they boosted the audio on it to where she's a lot quieter, but they're like,
Yeah, you even mentioned earlier, it's like, why is the audio fucked on
Yeah.
this?
yeah, exactly. So like, like this ventriloquist, this guy who like, his whole career is all about like, knowing what vocal cords are capable of, came out and said like, oh no, yeah, that's
ventriloquism essentially.
That's doable for a girl of her age, like if she really wanted to.
That's crazy.
Did we ever hear like her voice outside of?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of interviews.
I know for a fact I have heard her voice. I just don't have it on me because it's
Yeah.
not my episode.
Yeah.
Also, like, why would you just carry around an interview from the 70s of
pull
just
out
some
a
random
tape
person?
recorder.
You're like, yeah, here it is.
Yeah. So later, Janet came out and said, okay.
Good for her.
About 2% of the events of the house were faked.
Come on.
That's an odd number.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an even
It's an
number.
even number,
But it's an
actually.
odd number that they chose.
Yeah.
You know
That
what
was
I
also
don't get?
even.
This is a stupid point. You know what I don't get? When people say that 0 is not odd nor even, like I get it. I know I said I don't get it, but I get it. But also, it's even.
But
Explain yourself.
Because even numbers are every second number. And if you 2 minus 2, it's 0. It's even.
well, I think the definition is one that can be easily divided by 2.
It can.
Yeah, but it can also be easily divided by every number.
Yeah. That wasn't part of it.
But also at the same time, an odd number is described as a number that can be divided by itself and 1 can only be divided by itself. And so that doesn't fall under the category of an odd number.
That one I do like. Okay, logically that one makes sense. But you can divide 0 by 0 and by 1. Actually, can you divide 0 by 0?
No, you can't divide anything by 0.
Yeah, but it's 0.
Uh-huh.
So
0 can't go into nothing.
But it goes into nothing no amount of times.
I'm way too.
So
drunk
it's
for
0.
this.
So 0 divided by 0 would be 0, wouldn't it?
You know, it. Now that you say that, you know, if you look at it as a fraction, it like because 2 halves and 3/3, like they all represent 1.
Yeah. Oh, but then wouldn't 0 over 0 be 1 then by that logic?
Yeah.
See,
Here's the thing.
I feel
Here's a
like
new segment of the show called "Any Mathematician Within a Mile of You Listening to This Goes, what the fuck are they saying?"
Well, I feel like we're disgusting.
Yeah, we are disgusting. Absolutely, just degrading math.
I feel like you and I are discussing logic and not math. You know what I mean? All right.
I'm
Hold
so
on.
lost.
He's
I don't know what you mean because I'm looking this up. Okay, I just divided 0 by 0 and it just said undefined. So I guess you can't.
Oh, okay. So undefined is my new favorite number then.
I
So-
bet there's a fucking video where it's like, why can't you divide 0 by 0?
By like
I'm
Kurtzkagari
sure
or
there
something.
is, Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Khan Academy video here. We'll just put that on. This will be the last 30 minutes. Of it's just a full Khan Academy. We'll all learn something. We've learned nothing up until this point. Let's get some brain cells in here. You know what I'm saying?
So it's been nearly 40 years since the
Since we started recording?
it feels
Jesus
like it, right?
Christ.
So, and Janet and Margaret say that like they're still like holding on to everything was real. Like everyone who like tries to debunk it
Never
is an
thought about
asshole.
the fact they're still alive.
Oh, they are
Yeah,
still
this
alive.
happened like in the 70s, right?
This happened
So
in the
it'd be, what,
70s, yeah.
It'd be
Yeah,
like
and if you were-
50?
If you were like 11 in the 70s,
Well, they'd be
it'd
60.
be like 60, yeah.
Yeah. So to this
Fucking
day,
lying old lady.
yeah, and like
Bet she can't jump as good as she used to be able to.
I bet she can.
she actually used to be a
a
gymnast. Yeah.
Oh, so she's a professional jumper.
Yes, exactly.
Are you telling me? She's probably like, you want to see me levitate? Blink really quickly. And then she just does a jump. And you're just like, oh my God. For a split second there, I thought you were levitating. She's like, yeah, no. It's a good trick.
Yeah, so like despite all of this evidence that no, you guys were bullshitting, they still maintain that it's real. And the last quote that they've had like in the limelight was, "Oh yeah, it stays with you every step of the way. It's like a death really. It gets a little bit easier as time goes on, but the fear and the memories of it and what happened never leave you."
So they're just still fucking with us.
Yes.
There's the whole time they're just like, what if we just keep fucking with people?
And
they're
people
just
still
getting away
believe
with it.
And then they make a movie and probably get a shit ton of royalties off it.
Ah!
They might not, because I don't think you get
don't think
royalties
so?
for.
I mean, it's their story.
Yeah, it's their names. They would at least get their name rights.
But I don't think you get the name rights if you are a public figure.
They're not a public figure
They
until
were on
the
the
movie
news
comes
and
out.
stuff. No, they were on the news and stuff. That it's not a.
Oh, good point. I think that might count. Yeah.
I mean, but they still probably get royalties from
I mean,
like all the
But
books
can
and
you
shit.
divide her by 0?
Here's the thing. I just looked it up, and it basically they said 0 divided by 0 is undefined because you can't pull it back out by multiplying. You can't get it back into that.
Oh. But can you divide her by 0?
You would also get undefined. It's the same issue.
I'm gonna try it.
I mean, you can go ahead. You know, it's not going to work.
Set undefined.
It's set undefined.
Yeah.